President Obama girding for a fight as Congress signals it will try to block his Iran nuclear deal. The best political team on television is here to break it all down. CNN contributor Donna Brazile, Peter Baker of the New York Times, CNN's Dana Bash, and Congressman William Hurd of Texas. Thanks one and all for being here. So one of the big controversial provisions that's not in this deal is this anywhere, anytime provision. And what the administration says, the Obama administration says in response is, look, this 24-day leeway period, we can find, intelligence officials tell us that we can find if there were nuclear materials there, even 24 days later. You're a former CIA agent. Is that true? Is 24 days, will we still be able to detect?
It shouldn't be 24 days. Anytime, anywhere means just that. And, you know, the problem with this deal is that there's been absolutely no confidence-building measures with Iran. How can we trust them to do what they say they're going to do? And being able to get in to see their facilities at any time, any place, make sure that we understand what's going on.
But is it possible that the radiation detectors will be able to find out if they've been up to no good even 24 days later?
I'm sure in some forms it can, but also they can move a lot of you can move a lot of material in 24 days as well.
Dana, where is this on the Hill right now?
In trouble. And when I say that, what I mean is I think it seems to be clear, unless the administration really performs a miracle, that there are votes to initially, if they want to, say that they don't agree with this and that it shouldn't go through. The question is whether or not there is a veto-proof majority to do that. And that is what the administration is working incredibly hard to try to push. And you know, this really is a bipartisan thing because there are Democrats with Republicans who are very much opposed to this. The administration had Jewish Americans in the Jewish members of Congress, rather, in the Situation Room this past week. They are going after, I mean, probably they have a list of, you know, every member of Congress who is 5'5" and under. I mean, they have little groups of members trying desperately to go piece by piece to try to lobby them, and they have their work cut out for them.
Well, you know, this is a major international agreement, and with any international agreement, there are pluses and there are minuses. But on the plus side, I do believe that the administration will be able to keep the Democrats. 152 House Democrats signed an agreement, basically with the framework saying that they like the outlines of the deal. Now, clearly, the administration will have to continue to maintain the strong support, not just of the Democrats in the House, but also the Senate. I was telling Dana, I've been, you know, a great fan and supporter. Yes, I'm a fan of the administration, support the president. I've never been lobbied as much as I've been lobbied over the last couple of days. And the good news is that they're giving us information, credible information, not just about the inspections, not just about the lifting of the sanctions, the amount of money, whether or not Iran will become a good player in the region. They're giving us information, and I'm sure if they're giving it to those of us who are talkers, they're giving it to members of Congress and their staff as they go back this summer and come back to support this deal.
It was interesting watching the president this week at his press conference about this, and you saw a president who actually was engaging in the fight. He did actually want to talk about criticism when the reporters didn't come up with enough criticism. He says, hey, let's think of some other criticisms that I can address here. You don't see a president actually usually invite more criticism. He's asking his own questions. And the reason, I think, is because finally for him, after many months, even a year or more, of being on the defensive on issues that weren't of his creation or weren't of his desire to talk about, IRS or Benghazi or ISIS, he's talking about something that is at least something he wants to talk about, something he hopes will be a positive legacy in the long term, and that's a debate he wants to have.
There are a lot of Democrats, Congressman, who say Republicans are just going to oppose Obama on anything, and so we're not surprised that they're opposing him on this.
But there's a lot of Democrats that are opposing him on this as well. And I think a bad move was taking this to the UN before getting an agreement from the entire government. And that's something that has frustrated a lot of Democrats in Congress. And so at the end of the day, they've never shown any information. Why would the Iranians actually agree to this? They've agreed to these measures before. The IAEA, the UN watchdog, had done 30 inspections from 2003 to 2010, and they found out that the Iranians were lying to them, and that caused 4 more sanctions going forward. So the Iranians have done this before, and we have no information, no confidence-building measures that say that they're not going to do it again.
Let's take a quick break. Republicans rushing to condemn Donald Trump after his latest comments anger veterans, but who still has his back? The answer might surprise you.